Hello and welcome to the final unit in A&P1, the nervous system. What I would like to do in this video is take you through an exploration of this amazing system of our bodies. The nervous system is by far the most complicated of all systems, and it continues to mystify us. If the body is to maintain homeostasis and function effectively, the trillions of cells must work together in a coordinated fashion. And the maintenance of the internal coordination of these cells is accomplished by two far-reaching systems, the endocrine and nervous systems. We will study the endocrine system at the beginning of A&P2 and will end A&P1 with the study of the nervous system. We will begin our study of this system by seeing how it is organized. If ours was a cadaver dissection class, on day one you would take up your scalpel and begin your first cut. And it wouldn't take you long for you to cut through the fine threads of nerve branches that supply the skin. A thorough and precise dissection of all of the components of the nervous system intact would be an arduous and nearly impossible task. It is found in nearly every tissue in every corner of the body. You might choose to instead begin with one single microscopic receptor, maybe in the dermis of the skin, such as a tactile or lamellar corpuscle, and follow its associated neuron to the end of its path. Another very difficult task. So instead, we dissect out the macroscopic and more easily manageable nerves, the ones that we've named maybe the radial nerve or the femoral nerve, and we trace those. No matter how we go about studying the nervous system, whether we dissect the gross anatomy or slice extremely thin sections of the spinal cord and look at them under the microscope, or we might use electrical stimulation to determine the nerve conduction velocities, we are studying the nervous system in a compartmentalized fashion. And our descriptions of the divisions of the nervous system are for our own mental convenience, because in reality it is only one highly complex system working continuously and seamlessly at all levels and at all times. Our first description of a division in our nervous system is based on location. The central nervous system is all of the tissue that makes up the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system is everything that is beyond the central. The peripheral nervous system is subdivided based on direction. If the message that is being carried along the highway is going toward the central system, it is called sensory or afferent. And if it is emanating out from the central system, it is called motor or efferent. The motor system is further subdivided by whether or not the organism has conscious control over function. The somatic motor system is our voluntary muscular control, and the autonomic nervous system is involuntary. The autonomic nervous system is further divided based on the homeostatic mechanisms of fight or flight. The fight or flight system is called the sympathetic nervous system, and the opposing system is the parasympathetic system. And each one of these motor subdivisions has a matching sensory division that works alongside it to initiate, fine-tune, or terminate these responses. The brain, brainstem, cerebellum, and the spinal cord are not four distinct and separate organs, but are one integral organ that makes up the central nervous system. And emanating from the brain, the brainstem, and the spinal cord are the cable lines carrying information to and from the central nervous system. And these cable lines are the nerves that make up the peripheral nervous system. Carried within these nerves are the sensory, motor, and autonomic signals that coordinate all of the workings of the body, maintaining the delicate balance of homeostasis. And within these nerves is the crown jewel of the nervous system, and that is the neuron. And the neuron is the structural unit of the system. There are billions of neurons throughout both the central and peripheral nervous system, and neurons live to do one thing, and that is to propagate an electrochemical signal. It is this very simple electrochemical signal that controls every movement, every experience, and every decision that is ever made. And this is the part that amazes us about our nervous systems. How can something as uncomplicated as the action potential bring forth such a complex life? And so we will begin our study of the nervous system by learning the structure of a neuron and exactly how it does its job. And although neurons come in a variety of shapes and sizes, they have a number of structures in common, and two of those structures are the cell body and the processes. Within the cytoplasm of the cell body, also known as the soma, two organelles stand out and have very important functions. And those are the neurofibrils, which are the cytoskeleton of the neuron, and the Nissl bodies, which is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The processes of a neuron are named according to the direction that they conduct electrical signals. Dendrites conduct electrical signals toward the cell body, and axons generate them away. And there is usually only one axon, but a neuron may have many dendrites. Axons end in small structures known as axon terminals, and they may synapse at another neuron's dendrites or cell body. Or they may synapse on a different type of cell, such as a muscle cell that we saw in the previous unit. At the axon terminal is a gap between the axon and the cell membrane of the target cell, also called the postsynaptic cell. This gap is called the synaptic cleft, and the communication between the axon and the target cell is called a synapse. Axons are often referred to as nerve fibers because they can be very long. Most of these nerve fibers are wrapped in a sheath of fatty material called myelin. Special supportive cells will wind themselves around the axons, pushing their cytoplasm to one side, insulating the axons with their cell membranes. In the central nervous system, these special supportive cells are called oligodendrocytes, and in the peripheral nervous system, they are called Schwann cells. It takes many of these supportive cells to wrap an entire axon, and in between each of the cells, there's a small gap of uninsulated areas called nodes of Ranvier. Neurons can be classified in two ways, based on their structure or their function. A neuron may be classified as unipolar, bipolar, or multipolar, depending on the number of processes that are attached to the cell body. The functional classification of a neuron is based on the direction of the signal and where the signal originates and terminates. Sensory or afferent neurons begin in the peripheral nervous system as some type of receptor and usually terminate in the central nervous system, whereas motor or efferent neurons begin in the central nervous system and terminate on some type of effector in the peripheral nervous system. Interneurons are within the central nervous system and connect sensory and motor neurons. That concludes your introduction to the nervous system. Our next video will look at neuron physiology and the study of the action potential. Please read about resting membrane potential in both chapters 3 and 11 on pages 70 to 73 and 354 to 356 to get yourself ready. Now these paragraphs may prove challenging to follow, but I assure you I will simplify these concepts in the next video.